Hey, what's up guys? Thanks so much for stopping by the YouTube. Today I am with the 2017 World Champion in weightlifting, Mirabai Chanu. She came all the way from India to work with me, and we're gonna go through a workout today. Get up and get down, get up and get... All right guys, so far we have done an initial evaluation at my physical therapy location, SSM. Here is a clip from all the things that we are currently working on. If you don't know Mirabai Chanu, she's the 2017 World Champion in the 48 kilo weight class from India.
And Mirabai Chanu.
Just like any strength athlete, Mirabai deals with aches and pains, notably a recent left hip injury, current right shoulder pain, left shoulder instability, and a sore back sometimes after heavy training sessions. Mirabai and other members of her team decided to come all the way to St. Louis to work with me, and today's video that you're going to see chronicles the initial evaluation and a few key points in the following days after. Now, it's important to point out that most injuries that occur when lifting do so because of technique errors and or the way that we load the body. So my first step in our evaluation process was to look at her lifting quality. With her heavy squats, I noticed a hip shift to the left on her ascent. Here's another view. I found that the shift got worse the heavier and heavier she went. During the turnover portion of a muscle snatch, you can see a significant problem in symmetry. From the back view, it's even more noticeable. And finally, on her jerks, you can see that her left elbow likes to drop during the drive phase, leading to an unstable reception in the left arm overhead. Next, I performed a movement evaluation looking specifically for imbalances in mobility and stability. You can see here that she had full mobility on her right shoulder when going overhead if in an externally rotated position, but was limited in moving overhead when an internally rotated position was taken due to shoulder pain. Listen into my evaluation of the other side. If I hold the shoulder down, I can get to about that level right there, about the ears. But on this side, if I hold the shoulder down, so don't shrug, okay? Oh, right there. Yep, a little stiff right there, right? Now, she can get further, but that's that compensation. So that's why when she's overhead, she's here, she can get here, but she has to excessively shrug. So let's try something real quick. Now comes an important part of the process, the test and retest method. I had her try 2 minutes of soft tissue work to the lats on her left side, followed by 5 for 10-second lat stretches on the bar. So relax. Look at that. A lot better. So you can get all the way up here, and you don't have to shrug that shoulder up all the way. Therefore, one of her weak links was a flexibility limitation on her left side that limited her ability to get her arm into an optimal slot position when overhead. We then did some upper body strength testing. As you can see, I could easily push her right arm back to the ground with only 2 fingers. And again, if I put her arm into an elevated Y position to mimic the snatch or jerk reception, it was very difficult again for her to maintain that position with only 2 fingers pushing down. Compared to the other side, she could easily resist my push with her left arm out to the side, and when positioned up at the Y, again, she was much stronger compared to the other side. Yes. Okay, don't want to push your hands in. 3, 2, 1, hold. Hold. Okay, so you can feel it, huh? Okay, so you can do a 120 kilo jerk overhead with 2 fingers are pushing your hands in. We got some work to do, right? That's okay. This is a good thing that we're exposing this, because this is going to help you fix that problem, and then that 120 kilo jerk is going to be easy. Next, because she had a significant hip shift when squatting, I wanted to break down her lower body coordination and movement by starting with the single leg squat. While she could full pistol squat on each leg, she noted that it was more difficult to control the movement on her left than it was on her right. I then did some breakout testing to look at mobility, and we found equal mobility on her right and her left ankles. However, this was not the case when we looked at the hips. With the Faber test, you can see the left hip hung in the air a good amount. But when I tested her right hip, you can see her leg falls much closer to the bed, again uncovering an imbalance in side-to-side mobility. So again, we go back to the test and retest method. I had her perform 10 assisted hip airplanes for a 5-second hold in the opening position, feeling for a good stretch in her left side groin and inner hip before then closing. We did 10 of these again and retested. And up, Now let that hip just completely relax down. Better, huh? Look at that. I can touch. Before it was way up here. Feels like it can drop down a little bit more, huh? Okay, so let's jump up and let's try your single leg squat again and see if it feels any different.
फर्क पड़ा है इजी हुआ है यहाँ से
So still the right side is still a little bit better controlled, but so it felt easier on the left side.
Yes.
So our evaluation found a few of the following issues: right shoulder instability and weakness, left shoulder mobility restrictions, and left hip mobility and stability problems. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take Mirabai through her warm-ups, and then we're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at some of her training as she prepares for her next year of competition. So first things first, let's work on those hips. So let's do the assisted hip airplane. Okay, so this one, and then opening up. Okay. So one of the problems that we saw early on was, okay, remember, open those hips, was that she had an imbalance in the way that her hips were externally rotating and extending. And if you watch some of her lifts, she would actually shift in the very bottom of her reception, especially in the snatch and the clean and jerk. And obviously any type of small shift, no matter how small, is just gonna be just a little bit inefficient. And if we're trying to push, world level weights, we wanna just be as efficient as possible and clean up some of those small issues. So even though she wasn't dealing with any lower body injury, we wanna still clean up some of those problems so she can be as efficient as possible and lift as big of weight as possible and get that gold medal next year. So right now, she's doing the assisted hip airplane and she's opening up the hips. And right here, she's holding. Now with this exercise, she's gonna feel a light stretch right on the inside part of the groin, all the way up into the hip. Something like this, I'm having her do 6 to 8 reps for 5 seconds and just focusing on deep breathing in and out while she's there, really relaxing into the stretch. Really don't want to tense up when you're in this position. Want to try to relax as much as possible. If you don't feel this in your inner groin, if this is something that you need, you can also shift around with your body weight into your foot a little bit differently, sometimes back into the heel or into the forefoot just a little bit more. But the goal is to feel this in the groin, and it's going to be more of a joint type stretch than an actual strong muscular stretch. Okay, let's do the Mcgill Big Three next. So let's go on your back. So another thing that I like doing is just priming the core for any heavy training we're doing. So let's go on your back. Okay, one leg bent, one leg straight. Okay, hands underneath the low back. Okay, so remember, tight here, then lift the head. Very good. Small sips of air in and out, holding for 10 seconds. Now, one of the things that we were focusing on is that after heavy training, she would sometimes feel a little bit of low back stiffness the next day. Now, that often can be a sign of maybe some problems in the hips and or low back. Again, we're not necessarily dealing with an injury, but these are small signs that something may be just a little bit off in the way our body is coordinating itself to lift the big weight. So what we're doing is before training is we're using the Mcgill Big Three as more of a prime for her stability. The thing that Dr. Mcgill always says is that proximal stability enhances distal athleticism and power. And what that means is that if we can prime this core to stabilize and keep the spine in a neutral position, it's going to allow her to really fully maximize the amount of strength and power she can develop in her legs, which means maybe that much small or greater of a percentage of power she's producing with her cleans, with her snatches. And when we're talking that highest level of competition, the smallest percentage improvements in power can be the difference between first place and fourth place falling off the medal stand. So small things like this can be very helpful. What number was that? 6. Okay, we'll go on your side after this one. So the Mcgill Big Three is a combination of 3
specific exercises to hit all 3 parts of the core, front, back, and sides. One leg is bent and one leg is straight so that we can maintain as much of a neutral spine as possible, which is a slight arch in the low back. Both legs straight just tends to make the lifter want to maybe overarch, both knees bent, just leads to a greater ability to flatten the low back and flex it just a little bit. So we want to try to maintain that neutral spine. Okay, let's go on your side for side plank. So again, Mcgill Big Three, we have front, back, and sides. So up whenever you're ready. And next, 10-second holds. We're working that downside core right here. Very good. With your hand, you can put it here. Some people like to put it above their head. Again, you can do this from the knees, or you can go with the feet, one foot in front of the other, just to maintain just a little bit more stability. But again, 10-second holds. And the reason we're doing 10-second holds is so we can prime the core, turn it on, but I don't want to fatigue it so great as if you were to do like a minute or 2-minute planks. Even though she could easily do a minute plank, I don't want to fatigue her core prior to training. We just want to turn it on, get those muscles to work enough to where we can limit that excessive or unwanted motion in the spine, but not be too fatiguing. That's a big thing for everyone that's doing a warm-up, is the idea behind a warm-up, and we'll time ourselves with this, is a warm-up should be simple, effective, but also time efficient. The last thing we want to do is get to the gym and have to warm up for 45 minutes, because that's going to be too fatiguing and draining, and also probably a waste of time. So our our warm-up today is not going to be very long, but it's going to make sure that we're priming her body to perform great to the greatest potential. Okay, just 5 for 10 seconds on this one. Okay. Okay, so the last of the Mcgill Big Three is the bird dog. We're gonna do 5 for 10 seconds on each side, okay? So with the bird dog, what we're looking for is a neutral spine right here. She's going to brace her core nice and tight here, and then extend the arm and the leg out, kicking the heel back and making a fist with her hand right here. Now, 10-second hold, and then she's going to sweep under. Ooh, make sure that back stays flat. Don't let that back round. So what we're doing right here is we're maintaining neutral spine, and then as she comes back, okay, keep this back flat. Good, tap, and then back out. Very good. So this is sort of priming the exact same qualities that we want to see in the body during any of our lifts, which is neutral spine, movement of the extremities. So the brace is key before the movement starts. And too often people, as they start to move, they lose that neutral spine. So even though this is a unweighted exercise, a lot of people look at bird dogs as just a waste of time. This is neurologically teaching your body how to start with the fundamentals of bracing before movement occurs in the extremities. And something like this doesn't take a lot of time to use as a warm-up, and you can really see the difference in how your body is responding to lifting some of those bigger weights throughout your workout. So it's brace first into the sides, and then extension, 10-second hold. Again, you're taking small sips of air in and out of a straw to breathe. Don't hold your breath the whole time. Tap, and then back out. Now, if this is too tough for some people, I may just start them with the arm, just the leg, and then eventually we can do the entire bird dog as a whole. Something like this, you don't really need to progress past this. This is just a warm-up, just for priming. We don't need to start using weights or doing a lot of extras with this. For some people, if you want, you can start when you're in that extended position drawing squares or circles with your arms to make it just a little bit more difficult movement-wise, making it a little bit more dynamic. But for a lot of my patients and athletes that I work with, we're just holding for 10 seconds, back and then up. Is this 5? Okay, we'll switch sides. Early on, if you're doing this at home, getting in front of a mirror, very good. to just glance over and see, does that spine have a nice light arch? Again, that neutral spine of the low back is not completely flat. Neutral is a range, but usually we see just a nice slight arch in that position. Tap and back out. Very good. Now, a couple cues, pushing that heel back, you'll feel your glute turn on a little bit more, and then squeezing the fist, it will also light up some of these muscles of your upper back as well, which can be really, really helpful. And just, again, we're not just doing this to think about the core as far as the abdominal muscles. We're doing this to prime the entire body together. Whenever you're doing a clean or snatch, we want that full body connection from the hand all the way down to the foot. So the intention and the way in which you do a bird dog will pay off as far as how you're actually performing afterwards or not, depending on how much attention to detail you're providing. The TheraBand W, and one of the things during our initial evaluation that you guys saw was that when she was in this position, you could put your arms in, especially on one side, a little bit easier than the other. So we're using this band primarily to teach the muscles on the lateral and outside part of the shoulder to turn on to provide that external rotation. We're doing so in a very simple, sort of by the sides manner. This is not above the head yet, which is something we'll look on next. And again, I don't want to fatigue her too much right now prior to training. So we're just going to do 5 for a 10-second hold, and if she's doing these correctly, for sure she will feel a lot of fatigue in that lateral shoulder. Now, as you saw with the initial evaluation as well, her right shoulder was the one that was having the most issue with external rotation, whereas her left shoulder is the one that's struggling a little bit more with the lockout and push. So we're dealing with a little bit different side-to-side issues. So we need to make sure that we're addressing both with our warm-ups. So just 5 total. How's this band feel? Feels okay? So a couple of the cues that I like for this: thumbs out to the side. We're in an externally rotated position. Good tall posture, squeezing out. Feeling these right here? Does those feel okay? Okay. Is this 5? Okay. Burning pretty good? Yeah, good job. Okay, last one. Let's try. So this is going to be similar to the yellow band as far as how tough it is. Let's try this with your left side first, okay? And then we'll do the right side and see how that feels today, okay? You can just grab sort of around the edge, okay? Or let's do this side first. Okay, face this way. So on a knee, okay? Remember, arms straight out in front. So row, good, 1, 2, rotate, 1, 2, press, hold, 1, 2, back down, 1, 2, good, and push, just 5. So this is the row with rotation exercise, and then we have an added press on her left side to focus on that lockout portion that she's having a little bit of an issue with on her left side specifically compared to her right. So the role with this is to, again, teach the body the specific coordination muscle-wise that we're looking for with a snatch and eventually with the jerk overhead, is that we want to engage those posterior shoulder muscles first, lock that shoulder blade into a good position before the press starts. The big thing with this is you have to go slow. You want to feel those muscles engage properly. So it's engage the shoulder blade muscles, then rotate, then press. Too often you go through it really fast, you're not going to get the exact same benefit from this. Does that feel okay? So 5, and then we'll switch sides and see if we can do the other side. Now, the first day that we did this on the right side, we could not perform it because it was painful. So we took a step back and did the exercise laying on her stomach, which is in the prone position. And actually just the other day in physical therapy, we were able to do this with a light band on the right side. So let's see how we are feeling today. Okay. So row. Good. Hand just a little bit more this way. Good. Tight here. rotate. Good. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Okay, press. There you go. Is that okay? Good. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Rotate. Forward. Very good. Okay, tight here. Lock it in. Very good. Rotate. Strong. 1, 2, 3. Press. Good. Very strong. Back down. Good. So again, the first day that she came to see me, this was painful. She could not do this because of just a lack of coordination. So again, I would not classify her as an injured athlete that we need to take a complete step back from training. Too often people assume that just because we're dealing with these small aches and pains, we just need to stop training altogether. That's not the case. Sometimes it's just modifying training so that we're allowing ourselves to fix what we can fix while we train what we can train. And in this case, we were painful with certain movements, but we could still do some training. And then it's all about just a proper evaluation and then supplementing in specific corrective exercises to address those imbalances, to allow us to clear up those movement problems so that we can then eventually rebuild those main lifts that were prior painful. But with the Olympic lifts, there's so many different variations that we can allow ourselves to still train. So if muscle snatches look problematic and are painful, we don't want to obviously continue to push through a lot of big problems. So we take those out, we rebuild with this and allow ourselves to still train in a way that looks acceptable. So sort of find that middle ground. And this is sort of the art versus the science when it comes to physical therapy or performance physical therapy is sort of dipping your toe in the water, seeing how it feels, and always changing things up and seeing how we feel. How was that? Good. Pain-free?
Yeah, free.
Pain-free.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's good because this is a little bit stronger than the yellow band the other day. That looks good. Okay, very happy with that. Okay, I think with those, I'm good with our warm-up, so that didn't take too long. Ready to go?
Do it again. How about challenge? What do you got? Así sí que me complejo. Slow.
All right, guys, so that's it for Mirabai's training session today. Stay tuned for more info on her rehabilitation. She's going to be with me for the next 2 months before going back to India, and then as she's going to be preparing for the Asian Championships in March, tentatively for right now. So had a good training session today, and so go and follow her on Instagram. I'm going to put her link below, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.
They say that energy flows where attention goes, so I pay no mind. Why waste my time with all these negative cats scratching? So caught up in their egos, these people have lost.